Thank you. All right, so good afternoon, colleagues. Today we are going to hear from Professor Peter Scholten, who is a full professor in the governance of migration and diversity at the Erasmus University in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. His research focuses on the governance of migration and migration-related diversity, multi-level governance, comparative public policy, and the relationship between knowledge and power in the field of migration. Peter is the director of EMISCO, that's Europe's largest academic research network on migration, integration, and social cohesion. Furthermore, he's the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Comparative Migration Studies, and that is the main reason why we are here this afternoon to listen to him. And he's, in addition, the associate editor of the Journal of Comparative Policy Analysis, as well as the coordinator of the master's program on governance of migration and diversity. And this is a cooperation of Leiden University, Delft University, and Erasmus University Rotterdam, and the coordinator of the Erasmus Migration and Diversity Institute. Finally, he is the external collaborator at the Migration Policy Center, that's the European University Institute in Florence. So you agree with me that he is more than qualified to address us this afternoon, and we are waiting with bated breath for our guests to be able to take us through some of the things that his journal does, and then also to be able to clarify some burning issues that African scholars might have. So, Peter, by way of introduction, this is a collection of scholars, African scholars, in the area of migration and mobility studies from different African countries. So we have our members spread across the length and breadth of the continent, and we are glad to have you this afternoon address us on the activities of CMS. That's your journal. So we will hear you for between 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how much material you have. And then after that, I will moderate a question and answer session, if that is okay. And if the style works better in a different format, please let us know. We are your guests. I mean, you are our guest today. So any format that you choose, we will be willing to accommodate. So without much ado, I will hand over to my colleague, Peter Scholten, to take us through today's presentation. Thank you very much, Peter, and you are most welcome to AMSA. That's the Africa Mobility Scholars Association. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Leander, for this very kind introduction, by which I'm deeply honored, as I was by your invitation and the invitation of the African Mobility Scholars Association to have this unique opportunity to talk with you today about our journal, Comparative Migration Studies. So a big thank you to you and a big thank you to everybody associated to AMSA. And I see quite a few names that I've seen somewhere that may be at the conference or at a journal, at our journal, but a warm welcome to those as well. Yes, and your introduction was very kind. Also for EMISCO, I was the director for 8 years. Now we've passed on the directorship to the University of Liège in the great hands of Daniele Ventilla and Jean-Michel Lafleur. So I'm no longer in that position, but I will bring back some of the connections that we have to EMISCO from our journal Comparative Migration Studies to the EMISCO Research Network. So let me share my screen. I hope everything goes well now with the sharing of the screen. And I'll take the coming 30, 40 minutes to have a dialogue also with you about our journal, and not just what we do as a journal and what we offer and what we like to see in the journal, but also what you like to see and what you need in the journal. And what is very clear is that we need you for our journal. We need excellent scholars from all over the world publishing on our shared research interest in migration and migration-related diversity. So I very much hope that today's presentation will clarify a lot, will also provide us opportunity to learn from you on what you need. And I hope it will inspire many to submit your excellent work to our journal, Comparative Migration Studies. All right, so I'm not doing this by myself. I'm doing this with a very big editorial, global editorial board, of which Leander is part of our editorial board, and we're very deeply honored to have Leander on the board of our journal. And we have always, since the very beginning of the journal, a dual leadership, so two editors in chief, which is very nice for many reasons. One is to share the work, but also well, to have more creativity in leading the journal, to have different perspectives. So I'm very happy to do this together with Ms. Sanam Rohim, who has been co-editor in chief now for a while with me on this journal. Yeah, it's a big group here, but I would like to make this a dialogue a little bit today. And for that, it's also important that I know a little bit who you are. Um, so on the screen, you will find the web link mentai.com with a code. If you go there, then please stay there also for the duration of the presentation. You can see the slides there. That's also convenient. But you can also provide some input, and I would like to hear a little bit from you, just in one sentence, who you are, if you want to put that here on the screen, and also where are you from what discipline or from what university you are. And for in case the web link doesn't work, I also inserted this QR code on the screen to make it even easier for you. And then if everything works well, then this will pop up on the screen, and I'll see who is here. And I'll make sure also to cut it out of the slides that we share later, so that that's not shared broader. I hope it works. Yeah. I saw some names popping up. Yeah, Leander is here. That's good. Yeah. It's also a good test that it actually works, everything.
That's anyway, mau. Ada, ada.
For other people, does it work?
Ini dia. About this migration.
Yeah.
I'm
From
sorry.
Ghana.
No. Yeah, I was sending myself there. Yeah. Only when you come
So if you, I think some people have not muted their microphone yet. If you can please mute, otherwise we can hear everything. Yeah, from Ghana also. I see a lot of people from Ghana joining. That's really nice. That's good. Of course, you have the CMS Center, the institute there, with a very nice name. Huh? We share acronyms as journal and the Ghana Center. That's really nice. That's, yeah. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Very good membership from Ghana, Leander. So for others, please continue joining. Then for time's sake, I will continue, but you can still join through mentai.com type in the code, and then later I will come back with other questions to get to know a little bit more from you. But now I know that many of you are from Ghana, which is very important for some of the other slides that I will be giving. So today, what I will be discussing, and I don't know why Frank stays now on top of the screen here. So you're very, very important, Mr. Frank. I see, but I can't get you out of the screen. I don't know why. It's, for 1 second, I'll try to stop sharing and then start sharing again. Yeah. Yeah, now it works. Yeah. So let's continue. So for the agenda today, what I will be talking through is what do we stand for, CMS. There are quite a few journals nowadays in our field of migration studies. Why choose CMS? What do we stand for? Who are we? Then secondly, what do we publish? So what type of work is really our specialization? And then would really like to take time to really go through all the steps from having a wonderful research idea towards submitting your research to CMS. So what are all the steps that need to be taken? And I'll try to, yeah, I'll do my best to give you as much tips that I can give from based on my experience being editor-in-chief of the journal now from the very beginning. Was actually one of the founders of the journal also, so I've been there from the very beginning, starting up the journal. Over the years, developed some experience in what works from our end, and I'm very happy to share that with you today. So what do we stand for? Our mission is to advance the understanding of migration and migration-related diversities. So we're talking with AMSA, African Mobility Scholars Association. So mobility, indeed, in the widest sense of the word, domestic, international, regional, all goes. Diversity also, our journal, there's a lot of work on diversity. Also on intersectional diversities, as long as there is a relation with migration-related diversities. So in the terminology of AMSA, you could say we focus on mobility and also the consequences of mobility. Those are all published in our journal. We offer a broad church approach towards the type of work that can be published on migration and migration-related diversities. Where one of our signatures is really that we are very multidisciplinary. So this journal has sociology, anthropology, but it has political science, health studies, economics, statistics, even recently, computational sciences. A lot of different fields have provided input to our journal. Feel free, and I also hope that people feel comfortable submitting to our journal, coming from different disciplinary traditions. Nice thing is that because we have been multidisciplinary for a while, also our reviewers database is very multidisciplinary. You can really count on it if you come from health studies that we will have reviewers also from that angle to review your work. Another one is methodological diversity. So this is not a quantitative or a qualitative or only mixed method type of publications. There also you use the methods that you need to use. And the question and the topic is always leading, and the methodology is serving to the research question and to the theoretical point that you want to make. And also there, as editors-in-chief, as editors, we look a lot at do we get the reviewers that also understand the methodological angle that you come from? This is an important, that's our job. That's an important task for us. We are a comparative journal. I'll say a word about why we are that when I say something about the history. But what does it mean, comparative here? This very much fits into broad church approach. So comparative is not only comparing countries or nations. It can also be comparing regions, cities, organizations, groups, periods, even periods in time. So we have a very wide definition of what we mean by doing comparative research. Why do we think comparative research is so important? Well, to go back into the history of the journal, we developed the journal 14, 15 years ago, and it's now 12 years, 12 years. It's online, it's live, it's there. And in the periods where we were developing the journal, most of the work done in our field of migration studies was purely focused on the national level. And it was purely focused on one country usually. And the literature from different countries didn't not really speak to each other to the level, to the degree that we wanted to see. And we saw that as a major impediment for the advancement of our field of study. Because of a lot of the things that we are studying, I come from the Netherlands, a lot of the things that I'm studying in the Netherlands are not so specific to the Netherlands. The Netherlands is not so exceptional. And actually, without systematic comparison with other settings, other countries, other cities, other groups, it's very hard to understand the Dutch situation as well. So for the advancement for theoretical advancement, we really wanted to break open what Nina Glick-Schiller and Weimer have called, Andreas Weimer have called methodological nationalism. We want to break through methodological nationalism. This was really, when we founded this journal, this was one of our core ambitions. And we were a little bit, a new journal, trying to put our stamp on the publication landscape. We were sometimes a little bit unhappy with how important rankings, references, impact scores were. We wanted to be publishing on the work that would be very important in 10 years from now and not necessarily now. I think of early, especially issues that we had on social media and migration and digital infrastructures for migration. So we really wanted to break new research frontiers, and that's still a little bit in the journal. So we have a weak spot for things that are new, promising research frontiers to see where we can really advance our field of study into new areas. So we're very keen on that type of work. I think I went one too fast. Yeah, I was here. So what do we stand for? We are a journal that is really run by academics. Yeah, so entirely led by academics with the help of a professional publisher. Our publisher is Springer. So we can use Springer Link, which is a global infrastructure for publishing, but it's really a journal by academics, with academics, and for academics. And this is something that is deeply felt in the culture of how we run the journal. And this comes down to many topics, and not just on what articles do we publish in the end, but also what special issues do we want to prioritize. That's really a decision in the hand of academics only. Um, but even at the level of how much do we publish? So our field is growing a lot. There are many more migration scholars over the world, so that means that we need to grow as journal. This is really something that we invest in a lot. We see publishing and we see running the journal as a service to the academic, to the global academic community. That's how we see it. And we do that with the help of, we are associated to the International Migration Research Network, IMISCO, which started as a European migration research network, but is now rapidly globalizing as as we have always wished for the network. There's nothing specific European about migration, so it's very good to globalize the network. And now there are 71 member institutes from all over the world, two member institutes from Africa, and we hope that that will increase rapidly in the future, so that IMISCO can really stand for a global migration research community. So we are associated with that network, which means that we speak a lot with the network in strategic development. We think a lot with the network. Yeah, a lot of people from the network publish in the journal. Another thing what we stand for is open access publishing. So we really feel very strongly that your work is your work. And when you publish your work, you want your work to be shared with everyone at no cost because you put all that time and energy in your article, in your research, in creating your research idea. And we think that those research ideas should be available for everyone and any place, anywhere around the world at any time, without something like a paywall, without something like an enterprise in between that earns money over your work. So this is really our open access philosophy is the very heart of what we do as journal. So we are an OA, an open access only journal, which also means that if you go to our website, anything that has been published with the journal is available at no cost for you at any time. And you don't have to go through your university library. You can just access us online everywhere. This is really, well, not unique for our journal in the entire, there are more open access journals now in the world. But we were one of the first in our field of study. And this is yeah, deeply felt in the way that we publish. So we see that this has to do with open science, this has to do with fairness, but it also, in the end of the day, it has to do with service to the academic community and to advancement of our field of study. We believe that we can only advance our field of study if our work, your work, gets the exposure that it deserves. You don't spend years doing research without then people being able to read the outcomes of your study. You want to be read. You want to be referenced also. So no paywalls at our journal. Um, I mean, that does mean that there's always some cost involved. That is an article processing fee. So this is basically what the author pays to get published in the journal. And this fee covers the costs of running the journal. So it costs the cost of proofreading, of the review procedure, of the online portal, of the proof setting of the article, the checking of the article by our journal manager. That's the costs that are covered by article processing fees, which I have displayed here. I've looked them up because they changed recently. And you can compare it or ask ChatGPT, but you will find that we are amongst the lowest in the world. And that is, well, thanks to our great editors who put a lot of work in the journal. Thanks also to Springer, because Springer is an enterprise, but has been very willing to think with us as how can we run this at a very low cost possible, in a way that allows almost all scholars in the world to be able to at least cover this fee. If in some cases people cannot cover the fee, we actually have worked with Springer on a very elaborate fee waiver system or cost deduction scheme. And quite a few countries from Africa, Asia, are part of full fee waiver systems. And the countries I've displayed them here, these are the countries that can publish in our journal at no cost. Basically, it means I can't claim for the credit for it because basically it means that Springer covers the costs that we make to publish your article. Ghana, and I've seen that a lot of people from Ghana, has a 50% discount for guaranteed. So that means you pay half, and half of it is paid by our publisher, Springer, to make sure that your work is covered. And you can access here the link for Springer Nature to see all these arrangements of that Springer has made. And even for that 50%, there are cases where your institution has arrangements. And that can be membership of EMISCO. If your institution is member of EMISCO, then you can publish for free. And if you're not, then EMISCO has a global South fee waiving system with a limited number of fees, but then you apply to EMISCO through us, and then you may get a discount also for the 50%, or if your country is not listed, even for the 100%. So then, so if the Springer system, the publisher system doesn't work, then either EMISCO or your own institution. So I've elaborated now at great length because I think it's important to show you how it works. What I see with African publications is that there rarely, really rarely, only in a few percent are there really APC costs involved. So that means that almost all the African publications in our journal are in the end for free. That's good. So it is not for free, it's then sponsored by Springer. I have to phrase it in the best way possible. So that means that Springer sponsors almost everything that comes from Africa in our journal, which is very good. Yeah, we are very grateful for that. We have a global editorial board with a lot of editors on board because we are now yeah, a big journal in terms of the number of articles that come in and need to be processed. And we are a very creative journal, so we don't often say at face value that something doesn't fit. So that means a lot of editorial work, and I'm very grateful to people like Leander, who's here in the room, for all the work that they're doing for the journal. In the end, this is yeah, the journal cannot be run without the help of these members of our editorial board and without the help of reviewers. And it may be also that some of the names that I recognized when we started up the meeting, maybe that you have been a reviewer for our journal, and then my gratitude is great that you provide this service to us, and in the end also to the scholarly community. We have all grown up in the academic community by having our work published, having our
Before we
work
have me,
reviewed and commented
by
on.
joining Zoom,
Uh,
so
uh, Here, so is there a question, Jerome? Yeah? No?
No, I think you can proceed.
Oh, okay, I can proceed.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great. So then actually a question to you again on mentai.com, because I see some names that I really recognize. So I'm very curious about your experience so far. So have you published somewhere before? And also where? So what journals have you published so far? And this session is really about getting it published in a broad sense. So feel entirely free to put in the names of other journals where you have published. I also publish a lot in other journals. I even try not to publish too often in my own journal because that can look funny. So please just put in, where have you published and what are your experiences so far? I'm very curious to see some of your experiences. Gems, yeah, very nice, very good journal. One of the leading journals in our field, clearly. A very good editorial team also. So yeah, very good. Yeah. Other journals? Yeah, I am international migration. Nice. IOM support also for the journal. I like that journal also a lot. Yeah, I am, and I international migration review, of course, also a very nice one. Yeah. More? So also on non-migration journals, because migration is often not just our migration research, often not just about migration. It also says a lot about economics, about politics, about cultural change, for instance. So have you published in some general journals also besides the field of migration? Anyone? You're still sorting out the Mentai link? No? Yeah, GEMS also. Yeah, IMR, International Migration Review. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so those are very important journals to publish in, and it's clear that you have experience with finding us as publishers. So that's very good. So let me, for time's sake, continue. So what do we publish in CMS? We publish individual articles. So just an article that you submit, which is an individual article doesn't mean that does not necessarily mean individually authored. We actually see across the social sciences a steep increase of co-authored articles, which is good. Teamwork, team science leads to better publications. So it's good that you work together, you learn a lot. Our articles have a word limit of 8,000 words, so that's important. We publish 2 special issues per year. We are increasing this a little bit because we know there's a lot of demand for it. We do one generic call for any type of special issue, and once a year we also ask for regional special issues. Special issues that say something about a specific region across the globe. What we also do is thematic comment series. So this is really here you see that we are by the academic community, with the academic community for the academic community. This is on topics that we find of utter importance for the state of migration studies. So we did thematic issues about methodological nationalism, for instance, but also about critical perspectives on terminology within migration studies. So such as the concept integration. So we have a common series that has attracted a lot of attention on the use of the term integration. Is this appropriate from a migration studies lens? So every now and then in the editorial board, we talk and we say, this is such a critical topic in the development of our field. Let's go, across the world finding relevant contributions, and then make sure that these are not just articles in an issue, but that these articles really have a conversation amongst each other. So that there's a lot about academics is having a dialogue with each other. That's what defines academia. That's really what we want to do in this comment series, and that has been quite successful so far. And because academics ask for it, we have created a category in between individual articles and special issues. So paper clusters are really clusters of papers, of 3, 4 papers, that we publish in one go, but not with an introduction. We just publish them because they are thematically related, so that people who visit the website see that they belong together. But it's not really a special issue. It's a smaller cluster of articles for a specific team, and it's quite popular now also. And every now and then we look at the structure and we try to reconsider what do you need in the academic community, and how can we then give that a place in the journal. Important is that the article has to be original, and original in a very broad sense of the word. So original research, something new. It can't be published elsewhere. So no overlap with working series papers, with other journal articles. It's all checked also when you submit. So it has to be something new. And any discipline goes in our area. So it can be migration studies itself, but it can also be that you're an economist or a health scientist or a political scientist or a demographer or a lawyer working on migration. Then you can also publish in our journal. In fact, what we see is a shift in balance, where in the big early years, most articles came from people who really describe themselves as migration scholars working on migration. We see now that in addition to that, we see more and more people coming from general disciplines publishing on migration. And actually, I know because I'm editor in another journal also, a general policy journal, that it also works the other way around. So that people who affiliate themselves as migration scholar also publish more and more in mainstream journals. Yeah, you really see this multidisciplinary work surfacing. We also see that cross-disciplinary work is very strong. So, and I made it explicit because I know that in many universities, you often situated in your discipline, you teach your discipline. Universities are just very discipline oriented. But if you look at, now, even what students do, but also what the readers of the journal and what reviewers want is often cross-disciplinary work. So don't feel afraid to cross the boundaries of your discipline. Actually, often reviewers ask you to do it. That if you're a sociologist and you play with economic theory, but you don't really engage with it, then reviewers can be highly critical of that and say, well, then don't just play with economics, do something with economics. And this is really a bigger transformation in the field that I do see in my journal also. And it has to be methodologically solid. So we are not uh, methodologically homogeneous. So it's not that it's only quant or qual. It can be anything, but it has to be systematic, transparent, rigorous. It has to be valid, and it can be a little bit innovative. So we have been publishing a lot of work with Q methodology, with co-design methods, community research also. So methodological innovation can also be something that you can showcase in an article. We even have articles that are about methodological innovation only in our field. That is possible. Right? You can do that. That's, yeah, and if you have to pin us down, I never like to do this so much, I have to be honest. But if you have to pin us down in a discipline and Web of Science, I checked today on the website, says that we are highest ranked in demography. So there we are, the number 2 journal in demography for whatever that's worth. So I didn't check where we are in the field of politics or where we are in the field of geography or sociology or anthropology. I don't know that. But in demography, apparently we are second. So. I do see something in my screen, so I will do this stop sharing and then resharing again because it worked very well last time. So then I think it will work again this time. Yeah, voila, there we go. Yeah, and this is for migration. I like this one also at at Google Scholar. You could say this is a sort of informal ranking of migration studies journals, which doesn't entirely make sense because migration studies journals cater to many areas. So it's very hard to put us together. But then if you look at the H5 median, so that's the most important indicator, then we come as third. So there you see GEMS, ERS, IMR, Journal of Refugee Studies. You see all nice journals in our field. Actually very close to each other. For what it's worth, then this is something to look at. This is actually quite important to us, journal metrics, not just the impact factor, with which we are very happy. And I know that in some universities it still counts as something for getting job promotion, for instance. So that is important. I also see that many universities are abandoning that system and say it doesn't matter what the impact score is of the journal that you publish in. It matters how much you get referenced, how much you get quoted, and what your impact is. And yeah, on both sides, we're doing well now. We have a very high impact factor, 4.3, very proud of that. But most important, if you look at the usage of our journal, and yeah, I'm really very proud of this, I have to say. It's immense. The number of downloads from our website. Here you really see how an open access system pays off. So people want to be able to find your work, download it, read it, and anytime, anywhere, and as often as they want to. And that is a big success in this journal. If you see the number of downloads here, 2024, 600,000, it's just incredible figures. I could never have imagined when we started this journal that this would happen. I mean, the people who were advocating the open access system told us, but yeah, and I hoped that it would be right, but I didn't really believe it. But now this, we are living the open access publishing life, really. And here on the left side, you see a little bit how fast the journal is. Yeah, and there, this, yeah, we are not slower or faster than others. But here, a big disclaimer I just have to give, if I'm very honest, that and that applies also to James and ERS and Jimmy and all the others and I am and IMR because we know each other very well as editors. Our field has grown a lot, which means a lot more articles to review, which means more workload for our migration scholarly community in a time where our migration scholars are already quite overburdened. And it's sometimes very hard to find reviewers who then actually also deliver on time. So I think it's safe to say for all journals that doing these reviews in an appropriate time frame, and we say 3 months in our journal for a review round, it gets harder and harder. And I see cases where we make it. I see also cases where we don't make it and where it takes longer, sometimes even much longer. And that doesn't really make us very happy, but I have to be very honest with that. And you see that with all journals. Getting good reviews is very important for you to develop your articles and to grow, but it's not very easy. And also, therefore, when you are approached as reviewer, please say yes and please send your review on time because yeah, we cannot run the journal without you. It's very important. Yeah, here there's a couple of these download statistics again, and you see here every year it's increasing. And yeah, these figures are just incredible. 600 to 700,000 a year. And I think in a few years we will have 1,000 unique download requests at our website. This is just yeah, really nice. So I think this is what you should look at. Don't look at impact factor alone. Look at whether people will find your work if they want to. And I think this is proof that they do. They find your work. Yeah, we have. I want to be modest on this. I actually do that in the next slide. But we have some track records trying to find our way towards African to scholarship on African migration, migration to, from, and within Africa by African scholars, but also work on Africa. Actually, our most downloaded article ever is this article by Marie-Laurence Flo and Hein de Haas on African migration. There hasn't been another article that has beaten this one yet. It's from 2016. And it has been, yeah, just incredibly influential and very important for our journal to, well, to make our way into African scholarship. But we need more. We really need, we need you more probably than you need us. If you look at this, this is data until 2024. It's very sometimes hard to find out where the first authors are from. But here you still see a big bias, that the number of publications coming in from Africa is still not high. And yeah, we really depend on you. And I hope that this conversation we have today also will encourage you and inspire you to find us in our journal to publish here. I do see here that Ghana is charted very well. So probably quite a few from your center have submitted and published with our journal. So we need you more even than you need us probably. So that's why in the last stage of my presentation, I want to take you through some stages and give you some tips from editor perspective of do's and don'ts and how to get your work published with CMS. So step one, before publication, who can submit? Well, you, you can submit to us. It's really open to anyone. It can be solo, it can be co-authored. And co-author is no impediment. Also, when three, four, five co-authors, it's all fine. As long as there is this is a meaningful collaboration It's great. And but if it's solo, it's also okay. Don't feel forced also to always publish with, somebody who is supervising you, but perhaps has not been intellectually involved in your work. Then of course it can be solo. But if you are collaborating with somebody and you learn a lot, you inspire each other, you have a clear division of roles, of tasks, and getting your work written, then co-author. Co-authored publications in general do better than solo authored publications. So don't feel any impediment. PhDs, postdocs, professors, we even have publications of people with master titles who are doing their PhDs, quite a few even. So we don't check it also. So when we start reviewing your work, we don't look at your title, at your background. We look at the quality of your work, and then we decide what to do with it. So feel absolutely free to approach us. And also, if you feel uncertain, mail us. So we have a journal manager who runs the journal with us. And then we get a lot of questions, and then we do our best to respond as soon as possible and to help you also in the trajectory towards publication. Why would you want to publish with us? Why would you want to publish? That is, if you have an original piece of research that you want to share with the broader research community. So it has to be original, it has to be something new, it has to be real research. And so we are not a newspaper, so we don't do opinion pieces or very narrative reflections. But it really has to be a systematic, methodologically driven piece of research that engages with some form of some body of literature. But yeah, that applies to most of your work probably. So then feel free, come to us, submit, and yeah, do it. Not because you want to have the paper, or not because you want to have an extra line on your CV, but do it because you want your work to be read, to be shared with the broader academic community who are your peers, and that you want to contribute to that academic community. And you want to give the academic community an opportunity to learn from you. What you have to say is important. So share it. And well, making it specific for the African Mobility Scholars Association, there's still a huge bias in the field of migration studies. So migration studies needs your work. So please share your work so that we can really make sure that our field evolves beyond its still present Eurocentric bias. So then, what to publish? So what can you then submit with us? So some pieces that really need to be in there is a serious conversation with the literature, with a body of knowledge there. That is important, but you can do that in many ways. That can be quantitative hypothesis testing. It can be qualitative grounded theory. It doesn't really matter. There has to be a dialogue with the literature. So, however important it is, a single case study that remains a single case study will not be considered for publication. Your single case study will be published when you put that single case study in the perspective of something that it does with theory, and that makes it of interest for the broader body of literature. So then a single case study is great, and any type of case study and any type of methodological design is then good. So as long as you have that there, you're good to go. Make sure that you get your core message straight. And this is very hard. And when I look at my own career, this has sometimes been very difficult. And I want to say 10 or 20 things. But an article has a good, clear, theoretical, and methodological argument that you want to make. That needs to be super clear. So if you don't have that argument clear yet, then usually it's a sign that the article is not ready yet. So think it through then, and it may be that then some more work is required to really find your point, your core point that you want to make and to elaborate in your article. That's very important, and reviewers are keen on that. Also, our journal, and there actually we are quite traditional, so it's nice to be able to say that for our journal, who has been so innovative and a little bit challenging in the past, but here we are quite traditional, is we take 8,000 words and use it also. I see more and more articles coming in of just 4 or 5,000 words, and that's regretful, and reviewers can be very critical of that. So use the 8,000 words to really substantiate your argument. Make it to the full. Have this dialogue with the literature. Explain your methodology. Explain also the limitations of your research. So use the 8,000 words. If the article is well above 8,000 words, we will not submit it for review. So don't, yeah, so submitting something of 10,000 words, it's not even, it's not even useful because it will be sent back immediately, like with almost all journals nowadays. And your article needs to be really complete. And unfortunately, I still see it. I mean, it doesn't change over time, but I see articles coming in that are still a little bit sloppy. And then often we spot it already, and then we send it back. But you don't want the reviewers to see it, because if reviewers see it, they will move to reject quite fast if they see a sloppy article. So take your time. I will give this advice more often also today. Take your time, not too fast. Take your time to make sure that it's really that everything that you put in is well considered, and that it's all done, and that you have said what you really wanted to say, that it's in the article. The third step is then getting ready for publication. You have your idea, you have it clear, you have it written, you have taken your time. Then expose yourself to as much criticism as you can. There's this great book. It's always an inspiration. Everybody has their idols. One of my idols is Pierre Bourdieu, a sociologist who has written about science. What is science? And he, in his book, famous book, Science of Science and Reflexivity, he said science is not defined by its method. Is defined by its ethos. And the ethos is that a good scientist exposes her or his work to as many people as possible and exposes to open and serious critiques and grows and enhances the argument based on that critique. And that's really something that I feel very, very strongly about. So to strengthen your article, and I still do that until today with books, with articles, everything that I do. Once I think it is ready, I don't submit it immediately. I let it ripen by sending it to people I know, by presenting it to a conference, by going to conferences, by finding my audience and then asking them, what do you think? And sometimes I even take up to 6 months for that before I really submit. And this has huge impact on, I think, the chances of your work making it through towards actually acceptance. So, and here again, don't go too fast. Don't focus too much on the speed, but focus on how serious you have organized the submission process. Then also, when you select a journal, I mean, I want you to come to us, of course, but the honest advice is go to the journal where you will find your audience. So don't choose a journal because of their impact rating and their impact factor. That's old science. Try new science and find the journal that caters to your audience. Because in the end, that impact factor is not very meaningful to you. What is meaningful is that people will read your work and be inspired by your work and that they find you in the first place. So therefore, it's very important to find that match. Which article, which journal is closest to your audience? And what audience do you want to cater to in the first place? And this is a new one and very serious one in our journal. We are still struggling with it a little bit, but it's very important to never use AI in any way, in any primary process. So not in your fieldwork. AI is not empirics, and certainly not in your writing work. And actually, we can check this to a quite high degree of certainty. And this always leads to immediate desk reject when we have serious doubts about AI. So please don't do it. And it doesn't do justice to your quality. You can write it yourself. You can put in your intellectual power to put it in paper. And AI is usually not so smart as you think it is, but it is very eloquent. But our journal does not, and really not, check for eloquence. So we publish a lot of work which linguistically it's fine, we check it. But linguistically, this does not need to be Cambridge English, top of the bill, eloquent style. It needs to be good, solid academic style. So you don't need AI. Trust yourself. Have more confidence in yourself. Does it mean that you cannot use AI at all? No, of course, AI, you can use it as a support, as a research assistant. That's how we often say it. But that's always in secondary processes. So they're great. If you can use it as a help, like you use a research assistant, great. But any primary processes, just don't do the risk because it's not worth it. It's really not worth it, the risks involved to it. And you don't need it. You are good academics. Give yourself the confidence that you deserve. Step four, then really submitting. Don't submit unless you feel you're really happy and ready with what you have. Yeah, so sometimes it's better to put something on the shelf for a few weeks to give it to sleep over it, literally, and then submit it. Because once it is in with us, we will start handling it. And it can go out to review quite fast. And then, of course, there's not a lot you can do anymore. And the threshold is high, as with all the journals. So you want to make, to give it your best pitch, your best. Yeah, take the author guidelines seriously. And that also reads more and more closely. Also in our fight against AI, it gets, you have to do more things before submission is ready. But we have a great team in Springer, and we have a great journal manager who will mail with you if anything is not clear. So just go through the steps. And we are never in a hurry, so please take the steps clearly. We have our submission portal, which we update very frequently with all the most adequate, most up-to-date information on how to submit. And yeah, follow all the admin checks in the system. It's if you think, oh, I just put it in there very fast and then we'll see what happens, then actually that can lead to a serious delay. Yeah, because then we go through all the admin checks and it's sent back and you need to start over again. And then you have lost that time. So again, take your time. Yeah, and then after submission, there is desk review. And this is in any journals. All the journals we survive also based on desk review. Because if we send out everything for review, we will not have a lot of happy editorial board members left anymore. That's a workload that is not possible. So in our case, the editors in chief, we read everything, and then when we see it's promiseful, we send it on for review, or we give it a desk reject. So it's only for we send it out to review, or we reject immediately. Um, we desk reject a lot, like GEMS, IMR, and the other journals. What is very important to say is that often we desk reject based on that something is not clear, and then we say it, or the fit with the journal is not so adequate. Don't be too much discouraged by it. So a desk reject should not, and actually from our intention does not send a signal that it's rubbish that you have submitted. It just says, try somewhere else. And it's if I put myself in your shoes, what you don't want is that when we think something is not a good fit, but let's send it out to review, and then take 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then come back to you and say, well, no, it's not nothing, it's not really something for us. Then you have lost 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you don't want that. So this desk review is good for our editors, but it's also good for you in a way that you then can move on to the next stage. Try with another journal, reconsider for yourself, rethink where do you want to submit, but don't be too much discouraged. And this is something that, yeah, for me as editor-in-chief, it's probably the hardest part of being an editor-in-chief that you need to do this. It doesn't make me feel very happy, but it's the worst, it's the least bad of all bad alternatives. So there are only worse alternatives left than this. So that's why we have to do it like this. But when it moves on, then it goes into double-blind peer review. And nowadays in our fancy portal, you can follow all the steps that it takes, and you can really monitor the progress of your own article submission. Double-blind peer review, which we organize ourselves as journal, so you don't see who's going to review, and they don't see who you are. And yeah, in general, we say 3 months. That's still what we aim for, but it can take longer nowadays. I see more and more articles where we don't make the 3 months from first desk review towards having the first reviews, the first review round completed. That can take longer because we really rely on reviewers, and we have to make you part of sometimes our irritation is what has most implications for us is not so much finding 3, 4, 5, 6 reviewers, because usually that happens, but when you have found the reviewers, that then after 3 or 4 months they don't submit the review and don't review at all. So that means for us that after that 3, 4 months you need to start all over again. And that leads to a serious delay, because then we ask another reviewer, and then that review we cannot say, oh, by the way, please submit it in 7 days. That's not very polite, and we're all busy people. So yeah, that's something that really haunts us as journals. Then when you get the response, when you get the review outcome, which in our case can be accept, can be revise and resubmit, can be minor revisions, major revisions, then yeah, also take your time there and write a very good response to the reviewers. The reviewers really want, and I see that in these trajectories that we have with articles, reviewers want to see what you have done. That text that you are asked to upload, the response to reviewers, take that very seriously. Because I think that many reviewers start there and then see what really happened with the article. Yeah, take that very serious. Also, respect the reviewers. Reviewers also need to respect you, but that's something that we check on. If we feel that a reviewer has said something that is inappropriate, we try to take it out. And usually we manage to catch everything. But also the other way around, respect the reviewers. They are academic community peers. They're there to help you. That does not mean that you need to agree with everything. You can disagree. You are allowed to disagree with the reviewers, of course. So not everything that they say is, a dictate. If you want to do something, if you really have good arguments that you want to do something else, then explain that and stick to your arguments. But what we really want to see is this conversation between you and the reviewers. This dialogue is what makes academic work better, and an opportunity for you and for me and for everyone to make yourself better. That's what we are here for. Then, yeah, if you get a rejection, this is, the big taboo in the field, and because we don't talk about it. But everybody here, and me also, recently submitted a research proposal got rejected. And that's not something we talk about a lot with each other because we talk a lot with each other about the successes. You don't put a post on Instagram saying, "Hey, look at this today. I got rejected for this proposal," or "Hey, another rejected article today." You do post on Insta when you have a new article accepted, for instance. So then it looks as if people only get good news, but there's a lot of bad news to share. And you, me, everybody, we're human beings. So getting a rejection, me also, I take a one night rest to just, sleep over it, be angry, sad, depressed, whatever. Allow a human emotion and then move on. And after that, take any rejection as an encouragement to do it better, to find another venue, to write a better article, to grow, and to prove the reviewers and me as editor-in-chief, I'm also responsible then for rejection, to prove me wrong, and that you can do better. Do that. And for me, so this is a very personal advice. That's how I deal with rejections. Yeah, so I allow myself to be angry, but not forever, for a short while. And then I say, "Oh, this reviewer is stupid," and didn't read it careful and everything. I say it, and then at some point I close the book and I say, "Okay, then I have that review in my mind. I read it carefully, and then I just put it away in a drawer, and then I make my work better, and I learn from it." So dealing with rejection is very important. It's a very important part of life, but certainly of academic life. Also, because you're not just authors, you're also reviewers, take this into account when you write a review. That when you reject an article, it's usually very easy, very fast. You can spot what's wrong with an article, but sometimes it takes a little bit more intellectual power to then say how to make it better. And so please take that extra time when you're a reviewer to encourage the author. We also have a lot of young authors here in the journal. What would you want to say to them about if they made a mistake somewhere, forgot something? What should they do? What advice to give? I'm always very happy when I see that in a review. It defines good academic reviews. And then when you have great news, then celebrate. Again, this is also, we are human beings. We are driven by emotions. Academic life is not a life where you have a lot of hooray moments in our academic life. So when you get this acceptance, celebrate it. Go out with your partner for dinner, for drinks, whatever you do. But yeah, feel it that you have been accepted, that you have your article, that it's shared, that it's acknowledged by your peers, that this is good work, important work, work that needs to be read by others, that will be read by others. This is important. It's fun. I still celebrate everything. Then in various ways, but I make sure that I get my job satisfaction in this type of ways. So do it. So then, sometimes you get a minor revision. You're pretty sure that you're going to make it. A major revision also, when you address all the feedback seriously, the major revisions usually make it. And here I have to be very critical, the only major revisions that I've seen in my journal that did not make it was where people got a major revision and then did not take it serious at all. And then at some point, I, as editor, just say, "Okay, this takes too long. We cut it off and we reject it anyhow." So that is possible, but only if you don't take it seriously. We advise and we submit, that's another matter. There, indeed, it will go to full review again. And then revise and resubmit can and does frequently also lead to rejection still. But you still have a good opportunity if you get that. Second versions go to reviewers again. The minor revisions accepted. So if minor revisions go to the editor and then to the editor-in-chief. And then if we check them, if we see that it's okay, then it's okay. Then we move on to publication. And again here, take your time. I see many scholars who are so excited that they are in the second round that they just want to resubmit immediately and then hope for immediate feedback from the immediate decision from the reviewers. Don't do that. Take your time, take it serious. The more serious you take it, the higher the chance that it really, leads to a very successful outcome. Yes, and then after publication, once it is out, that's not then you celebrate, you go for dinner, drinks, whatever you do. But then the aftercare is also important, and part of that we will do also as journal for you, sharing, publishing, making sure it's known that your article is there. But we also count a lot on you that you go to social media channels, you share it with your research partners who have been involved in your research, go into your network, share your work. And yeah, you, by the fact that this is an open access journal, you are able to share it freely with everybody. Yeah? There are no limitations. The only limitation is you cannot reproduce or copy paste without referencing the journal. But for the rest, you can do with it whatever you like. That's the fun of open access publishing. Your work, you publish it to be read. And that's what we are here for, making sure that your work finds its way to your audience. That's what we are here for. Yes, so then I'm there with an eye on the time. I want to give the floor back to Leander. Would you like that people type in their questions in this screen, or shall we just, close the screen and have questions?
Yes, I think maybe you can close the
Yeah,
screen and then people raise their hands and ask the questions. So
perfect.
thank you very much, Peter, for this detailed presentation. Normally we'll go for 30 to 40 minutes, but you were so clear in your
Yeah,
presentation and the
it was a bit
presentation.
longer than I thought. Yeah.
Yes. So there was no way I was going to interrupt your flow by insisting that you stick to 30 or 40 minutes, because this is a rare opportunity to get an editor-in-chief who is very clear and detailed and has made time to walk us through all the different steps. So thank you very much on behalf of AMSA and then CMS, the other CMS, Center for Migration Studies, and all the mobility scholars on the continent. We are most grateful for your time. And I will turn over to my colleagues who might have questions. Please just put your hand up. I'll take 2 or 3 questions at a time, and let's see how many rounds we are able to go for the next 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So anyone who has a question, please feel free to raise your hand and you have the opportunity to ask your question. And if you are in a place where you are not able to talk, you can also put your question in the chat, and I'll do well to access the chats if possible, and then share that with our presenter. So let's see. Someone is asking whether we have social media handles where you share teasers as to what to expect in the journal at any point in time. So that's directed at Peter, whether you have any social media handles where you share teasers as to
Yeah.
what to expect in the journal at any point in time.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, very good. Yes, we have several. But very important at this moment, we are in transition because we were at X, previously known as Twitter, and we moved out of that for the reasons that everybody knows. So we as Journal have withdrawn from the platform X. We are no longer there. So we are now in the process of building up a new profile on LinkedIn, which we think is a more appropriate channel for the journal. In this transitory phase, you will find a lot of people who tag, the journal, but not the journal outlets yet. We are building that up. Um, Two other forms are through Emisco. Emisco does a lot around the journal. We are associated with Emisco. Emisco is a huge social media outlet connected to it. And the last thing, and that's also, you see that the journal is getting younger. is that we are in the process of looking at Instagram. So whether the journal can become active on Instagram. And this is also something, Leander, that in the editorial board we talk about. Is this an appropriate channel? I think we have decided, Instagram is okay. And then how do we do that? But it gets more important. So this is a super good question because our journal is here for making sure that your work gets read most widely as possible. So that's why we are open access. But that's good, but that's only one step. So what our journal really wants to do is that also around that, the social media infrastructure, that it becomes better than it is now. So that people can then follow those social media channels and get drawn to your work. So that every time for every article, the research question, for instance, is posted on, well, on Instagram it works differently, but at least on LinkedIn, that we then share every research question of every single article. And then in the future, but here, nobody, I don't have a glass ball to predict everything. So please, forgive me if I'm wrong. But I think we were in old science was based on impacts, scores of journals. So that was really 10 years ago. I think now we are more in age factors. So how much references do you get, regardless of where you publish? I think in the future we'll go to the alt metric. And alt metric is how much does your work get acknowledged, referenced in any place. So where your age index, how much you're referenced is just how much do you get referenced in other journals, in other articles. Alt metrics looks at how much you get referenced anywhere. So also when you get picked up on in newspapers, for instance, or on online blog forums or things like that. So that's where we need to go to. And I think for us, a journal, Leander, the debates is that we were a little bit the new kid on the block, the new journal, a little bit challenging everything. And you can see now that, we are going through our adolescent stage. So we are not that young anymore, so we need to catch up again. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter, for that. And there's another question on the 8,000 words that you mentioned. One of my colleagues wants to know whether that includes the references or that's the main text of the
Yeah.
article itself. Thank you.
No, it includes everything. Also appendices, so everything is included. In reality, so there's a computer also checking. It says 8,000 words, always plus minus 10%. So 8,800 words, you're still good to go. But if you're above that, then we don't send it out. So it's automatically pushed back. So then there's literally on my dashboard as editor-in-chief, I then see a red alarm signal saying, don't send it out for review. And I send it back. So please cut it. What I do see more often, and that is allowed, so this plus minus 10, you could say, I see more and more articles coming in of 5 or 6,000 words. And for now, if it's really a good article, we do send it out if it's smaller. But reviewers tend to be critical of it. They say, well, you have this 8,000 words and elaborate this and elaborate that. And why didn't you talk about this? Why didn't you talk about that? So you have the 8,000 words, use it.
Yeah, very useful advice as well. And my colleague Sandra wants to know how we can use AI as a secondary part in the writing process.
Yeah, no, let me be very clear about that. Writing is primary process. So there AI is not allowed. Not at all. And so please don't take the risk, because if you use it in primary writing and you have put in a lot of, I always have this dark image in front of me of somebody who has worked years on something, and then you think at the end, think, oh, let me use ChatGPT to fancy up my writing style so that it looks very eloquent. And then, on my dashboard, it turns red. And I send it back immediately because it has this high risk of AI use. Then, it feels so bad. for all that intellectual work where in the last 2% you decided to use ChatGPT. So don't. And that's really my message. In writing and also in field work, AI is not a method for field work. Don't use it. So when I say secondary process, that is more, what you can do is when you're writing, then sometimes I want to have just a quick check. I know I've read something somewhere, and then I ask ChatGPT, where was this? Or some quick information that I then double check, and then I put it into the article myself. And sometimes, and I've this is allowed when you then let ChatGPT check your writing. But then in bullet points, you let ChatGPT say what you need to change, and then you change it. And this is as far as it goes. So don't go further than that. So don't upload a text to ChatGPT and then say, change my text, rewrite it, and send it back, because then it will turn red on my screen. Yeah. So yeah, please don't take the risk. AI is really, yeah, it's really something that we struggle with a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very
Yeah.
much for that as well. Any more questions, clarifications? I think this is one of the clearest presentations I've attended in a long time, where before you have even had the chance to ask the question, the presenter has touched on it. So you covered a lot of ground. So I'm not surprised that we don't have too many hands up. But if there is any burning question or clarification that you need, please feel free to speak up. Victor, I see you have unmuted your microphone. Do you want to ask a question?
Many thanks, Professor. Good afternoon for everybody. Only to say many thanks for this opportunity to attend for this meeting, to know about this journal, how to publish. And I saw there many fees in euros, I believe so. It's
Yeah.
1,040, 1,240. These fees, we don't have any scholarship who can found the authors to publish the articles, please.
Yeah. No, thanks, Victor. And it's a pleasure really to be here and an honor to talk with all of you about the journal. So your question is about the fees. So let me say two things about the fees. One thing is that we have a fee, so the journal is run, yeah, by the academic community for the academic community, but there's still costs involved in making sure that we are alive and that we can do something. But as I showed in the presentation, almost all African countries go for at least a 50% discount through Springer, and quite a few for 100%. And this is covered by Springer. And then in MISCO and sometimes your institutions also do the rest, if you can't get 100% covered to Springer. And so if I look at the African publications that we've had so far in the journal, I think we've had only one from South Africa where there was an actual coverage, an actual fee involved, because South Africa was not on the list because it's average income level, and all the others were entirely for free in the end. So especially for Africa, and that's why I was so elaborate on it in my presentation. Those article processing fees are not a problem. If they are a problem, approach us. Because I think the system is complete in a way that it will, allow you to publish for free. But if it's not, then yeah, just let me know, and then let me see what the problem is. And that always, the second point I wanted to say about this is that the great benefit of that then later, you really don't want to put in years of work into an article that then gets hidden behind a paywall. So we do these article processing fees because we want our journal to be fully open access, so that everybody can read your work for free. And if your work vanishes behind a paywall, I think this is, yeah, I think this is the worst nightmare, for a scholar. You put in a lot of work and then your peers will not be able to read it. So this is, also from a perspective of globalization, that is a big problem, because a lot of European universities, of course, have those subscriptions, so they can still read it, but the rest of the world can't. So we really feel very passionate that this is a better system than a library subscription system. This is a better system. It will allow everybody to read your work. And like I showed in the download figures, it's immense. We have close to 700,000 downloads a year. So yeah, that says enough. That is far more than journals behind paywalls, I can reassure you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question from my colleague, Dr. Ada Alote, who says that the special issue that you talked about, whether it comes out as a call and how will individuals be able to put in proposals for special issues. So, for instance,
Yeah.
AMSA members, if they want to come together to propose a special issue,
Yeah.
do you have any ideas on that, please?
Yeah. Two things. One is the formal route. Twice a year there is this call, and we send it out through our social media channels, through eMisco channels, to our website, and it always follows more or less the same rhythm. So it says at the end of summer there's the open call. So because that's after conference season. So conference season is right before and right after summer. So that, let's say, somewhere in September we have our open call for any type of special issue about anything. And then usually in January-ish, we have a thematic call, which is about regional migration, for which AMSA would be great network, to submit, indeed, because that's, well, it's really for regional perspectives on migration. So you can always count on more or less that rhythm, and keep an eye on our social media channels. The informal route is also how we see as journal, because we are allowed to grow a little bit more than in the past. If you have a great idea, just mail us. Because if it's really a great idea and the editorial board says we go for it, then we go for it. So if AMSA has a great idea, let us know.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Can I have two last questions? Any two last questions? So we don't take up the whole of your evening. Is thank God it's Friday in a few hours' time. So we don't want to stand between
That's
you and
fine.
your weekend. So two more questions, please. Okay.
Yes, Prof. I can't see, unfortunately, I can't see where to raise my hand.
No,
I
that's
don't know if
fine.
you can see that, my mic.
Yeah,
Okay,
proceed.
I'm Janet, and I'm calling from here in Michigan. Apparently, it's still morning. I'm so sorry
Oh,
that
yes.
I joined a bit late. I missed the first part, but my question actually builds from what Professor Vika raised, the issue of payment. As a scholar based South Africa, I'm not so sure, Peter, what was the final decision. We need to still pay, because I doubt if South Africa is actually classified under what the world believes it is. And also is academic community, I think will be giving, sharing. This is social, about socializing knowledge. And I'm not so sure how this will play out if I were to publish through you. And the other question is, so does it mean that reviewers also paid through your journal?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Oh, the last one I find very interesting, because this is something that we have been talking about. But no, the reviewers are not paid. If that would happen, our costs would also increase. So we want to make the fee as low as possible. So the fee now really goes to our 1 day in a week journal manager. It goes to the cost of the website, and it goes to really, as the article processing fee says, to the processing of the article. So the checking, the editing, the proof setting, publishing. That's 1,000 per article. So And yes, perhaps we will arrive at some point where reviewers will be paid for this. I know that for book reviews, it is going in that direction already. And yeah, let me hope that's not a decision for the journal itself. That we need to. That's something for yeah, all the journals together to do it like that. And because also with other with non-open access journals, somebody pays. But for the non-open access journals, the universities pay a lot in terms of subscriptions, of course. So there's always somebody who pays because there's always some cost involved. Yeah, and South Africa, perhaps was a wrong example. My point was that for entirety of Africa, almost everybody publishes for free in CMS so far. And for South Africa, we had one case where there was not a full fee waiver, I remember in the past, but I don't know how much was waived. And South Africa did not pay the full ticket. That was not the case. I have to. It depends a little bit on the situation also. And people from South Africa can also always apply for the Global South fee waiver, so that even if your institution or Springer doesn't cover it, then Emisco can cover it, or we as journal can waive it. So there is really a lot has to happen before somebody from Africa really needs to pay this fee. Yeah.
Right. So what will be the very last question is at what point will one have to pay the fees? Is it before or after acceptance? That's a question by my colleague Frank AC, Dr. Frank AC. Thank you.
Yeah, it's after acceptance. So that's also our journal manager looks at when an application comes in. We immediately look at where are the waiver systems, how does it work with Springer. We are in touch if there are things unclear or, we have done this 1,000 times. So we know very well, what are the opportunities and can pinpoint that also to the authors. But of course, you only pay when it's accepted.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think personally, I would have liked this to drag on for 2 full hours because it's so interesting. But you agree with me that Peter has been talking for the best part of an hour and a half? That's a long stretch.
It was my
So
pleasure.
at this point, yes, at this point, on behalf of AMSA, my colleagues across the continent, we are privileged to have you with us today. And we are grateful to you for all the insights, the tips, the do's and don'ts, and then the generous guidance that you've provided in terms of people who want to submit. And I must say that this is a collection of scholars at different stages of their academic career or the ladder. So they are early career researchers, but also mid-level, and then some senior academics as well. So you would, I would not be surprised if we were to come up with a special issue proposal sooner than later. And as a group, we will reach out again, and we are most grateful. And thank you very much. And thank you to my colleagues for making the time to join. The students, those who have recently graduated, congratulations to you. We had a few of them only this week. Brand new.
Congratulations.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, so we'll keep the conversation going beyond this. And as I already sought your permission at the beginning, this conversation has been fully recorded. And other colleagues who, for one reason or the other, were not able to join us today will have the opportunity to listen back to the conversation. And for the purposes of clarification, even those who are online now will have the opportunity to go back and then listen to the fine details of your advice. So we are most grateful, Peter, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we look forward to hearing from you another time. But on behalf of the team, thank you and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Peter. Thank you,
Bye.
Peter.
Thanks.
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Schilling.